All right, we are recording. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Mark, and yes, we are in bed because sleep is important, and that's what we want to start this challenge with. You know that sleep is critical, right? It's as critical as your exercise, it's as critical as your nutrition. Let me tell you something, if you live to the ripe old age of 85, you're gonna sleep for 25 years. I mean, that's nuts. There's nothing else we do for that long or that consistently over a lifetime. So that just tells us how important it is. But how many of us are putting in the work to make sure that the quality of that sleep is what it should be, so we can step into each day the best version of ourselves. So that's what this challenge is about. Let's talk about sleep. How much sleep do you need? Well, look, it's different for each person. For me, it's 7 hours, right? But typically it's 6, 7, maybe 8 hours. For the vast majority of people, somewhere on that spectrum is going to be the right amount of sleep. We know that those getting 5.5 or less each night on a regular basis, there's going to be some negative effects to their health and well-being. Those getting 9 or more each night on a regular basis also might have some negative effects to their health and well-being. So 6, 7, 8 hours, somewhere in there seems to be the sweet spot. And you'll find that. Some of you already know that intuitively. If you don't know, if you've got no idea, then it's really important that you start a little bit of an experiment, and maybe today is the day that you start. You're going to spend a week sleeping for 6 hours each night. And every morning and every afternoon, you're going to write in a journal, how did you feel? Right? How did you feel when you woke up after that 6 hours? How do you feel in the afternoon at the end of the day? Do that for a week. Then on the second week, you'll do 7 hours, and on the third week, you'll do 8 hours. And then you'll have a full journal of how you feel after that 3-week period. And you might have felt the best in the first week. So then, of course, 6 hours is the right amount of sleep for you. So that will tell you how much sleep is the right amount for you personally. And then once you know that, you need to commit to it. So for me, how do I commit? I make sure I go to bed at the same time every night. And I make sure I wake up at the same time every morning. Now, of course, that doesn't happen every day, but that's what I aim to do, right? And that helps me to set up good sleep hygiene practices, right? It sets that regularity with my sleep. So once you know how much you need to sleep and you're committing to that regularly, what are the other things that we can do to help us get a really good night's sleep? One of them is the wind down period, right? And you probably already have a good sense of what that is already. But basically, it's the 30 to 60 on a hectic day, maybe 90 minutes before bed, where you practice some activities to help you wind down. Some of those might be having a nice, long, hot bath, or of course, a shower. It might be drinking some lovely herbal tea. You might listen to music or an audiobook, or I like listening to nature sounds. Could be having a chat to a housemate or a family member. Maybe yoga, some light stretching, breathing or meditation. And look, maybe it's a little bit of TV. I know for me, TV helps to wind me down, right? I might not be actually watching or absorbing what's happening, but somehow just staring at the TV, it does help me to wind down. It's kind of a bit mindless. It allows me to decompress. And it's important that these wind down activities are happening outside of the bedroom and definitely not in bed. We want to associate the bedroom and bed purely with sleep. So I would ask that you don't eat in bed, you don't watch TV, try not to read in bed, don't work in bed, that's for sure, and try not to take any screens like tablets or phones to bed. The other thing, while we're talking about tablets and phones, is that we want to set up a good environment. Now, a peaceful environment usually means that phones and clocks are hidden, right? Because sometimes, you know those nights when you're finding it hard to get to sleep and you're looking over at the phone or the clock and you can see the time and it stresses you out because it's 2 a.m., then it's 3 a.m., and then it's 4 a.m. We don't want that while we're trying to get a good night's sleep. So we put the phone away, we hide the clock. Now, with the phone in particular, just consider how much scrolling is happening before bed. If you can try your best tonight to put the phone away or set the phone away at least 30 minutes before bedtime, right? So there's just this, little bit of distance between you and the phone, between you and the scrolling, at least 30 minutes before bed. The other things we want to think about when it comes to environment is maybe there's a houseplant or a lovely calming piece of artwork that is quite, conducive to creating a peaceful space. We also want it to be dark. We also want it to be quiet, right? And we also want it to be cool. Now, cool, just think about those hot summer nights, right? We know that we don't get a good night's sleep then. But they say somewhere between 12 degrees and 24 degrees. And again, there's quite a range of degrees there and you'll figure out what the best one is for you. So that's setting up a good environment. Now, we also want to think about the food and drink before bedtime. Now, I'm sure you know caffeine and alcohol are not ideal before bed, right? Even if you can get to sleep totally fine after a big hot cup of coffee, it doesn't necessarily mean that the body is going to rest with you, right? Caffeine and alcohol takes time for the body to process. So we want to try and eliminate those things within the body much earlier in the day, and definitely not before bed. There might be some food and some medications that you might want to take earlier in the day as well. And then also think about the right amount of sleep. Now that might take a little bit more time. You might not be able to figure that out in one night. But if you know what that is, then tonight is the night to really challenge yourself to get that much sleep. We know that we're going to put the phone away. We're definitely not going to have any scrolling. And then maybe we try and keep the challenge for the rest of the week, maybe the rest of the month, and get a good sense of how a good night's sleep feels. So thank you so much for joining me on your very first 720 Wellness Challenge. I hope you have a wonderful sleep. Good night.